Hi, thanks for watching BibleMountain.com. In this video we're going to read from Exodus 22 and 23 and learn that false accusations are just as bad as real assaults. Our news media is full of stories about sexual harassment and assault. Along with those stories are stories about false accusations. Exodus 23 teaches us that Yahweh despises false charges and injustice. Yahweh warned the Israelites to avoid false witnessing and siding with those who are in the wrong. Likewise, we're going to look at some verses in Ephesians and 1 Peter that tell us to lay aside falsehood and to speak truth. And what all these verses teach us is Yahweh's heart, and that is that we need to fight false allegations just as much as we need to fight harassment and assault. Now let's start reading Exodus 22. We're going to start at verse 28. The context of this is God has the Israelites at Mount Sinai. He is giving them a culture. The verses we're going to read in this video are part of a section where God is giving them a criminal justice system. So let's start reading there at verse 28. You shall not curse God, nor curse a ruler of your people. You shall not delay the offering from your harvest and your vintage. The firstborn of your sons you shall give to me. You shall do the same with your oxen and with your sheep. It shall be with its mother 7 days. On the 8th day you shall give it to me. You shall be holy men to me. Therefore you shall not eat any flesh torn to pieces in the field. You shall throw it to the dogs. You shall not bear a false report. Do not join your hand with a wicked man to be a malicious witness. Notice the line here, you shall not bear a false report. So there was a very clear command here not to be a false witness. It also uses the phrase malicious witness. They were prohibited from being malicious and telling things that weren't true. Let's resume at verse 2. You shall not follow the masses in doing evil, nor shall you testify in a dispute, so as to turn aside after a multitude in order to pervert justice, nor shall you be partial to a poor man in his dispute. Here, notice the warning not to follow along with the masses. It's very natural for us humans to want to go along with the crowd. Unfortunately, sometimes, many times, the crowd is doing the wrong thing. It's very easy for the crowd to go along and pervert justice, and God warned the Israelites not to go along with the crowd in doing evil. And he repeats it and says, do not turn aside after a multitude in order to pervert justice. And then notice this. They were told not to be partial to a poor man in his dispute. It's very easy to fall into the thinking that poor men have it bad, and if they're in a dispute with a rich man, well, the rich man has enough and it's okay to be favorable towards the poor man. But God prohibited that. God prohibited them from being partial to a poor man. If the poor man was in the right, then he deserved his due. If the poor man was in the wrong, then he should not get any extra special favors. Let's keep reading at verse 4. If you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey wandering away, you shall surely return it to him. If you see the donkey of one who hates you lying helpless under its load, you shall refrain from leaving it to him. You shall surely release it with him. You shall not pervert the justice due to your needy brother in his dispute. Now earlier we saw the prohibition against being favorable or partial toward a poor man. Here there's a command not to be against a needy brother. If a poor man deserved justice and deserved something, then they were supposed to provide it to him. Let's keep reading at verse 7. Keep far from a false charge, and do not kill the innocent or the righteous, for I will not acquit the guilty. You shall not take a bribe, for a bribe blinds the clear-sighted and subverts the cause of the just. Here's another prohibition, keep far from a false charge. It says, do not kill the innocent. The Israelites were told they should not take a bribe. The reason was, a bribe subverts the cause of the just. So throughout this passage, God was concerned about justice. He expected the Israelites to treat everyone fairly and justly, and bribes subvert justice, so they were supposed to stay away from bribes. Let's keep reading in verse 9. You shall not oppress a stranger, since you yourselves know the feelings of a stranger, for you also were strangers in the land of Egypt. You shall sow your land for 6 years and gather in its yield. But on the 7th year you shall let it rest and lie fallow, so that the needy of your people may eat, and whatever they leave the beasts of the field may eat. You are to do the same with your vineyard and your olive grove. 6 days you are to do your work, but on the 7th day you shall cease from labor, so that your ox and your donkey may rest, and the son of your female slave as well as your stranger may refresh themselves. Notice here a reference to the needy of their people. There were some commands here to make sure that servants were able to rest and refresh themselves. Again, we see a concern with those who are perhaps vulnerable. Just as in their justice system, they were supposed to not take advantage of those who were vulnerable, but give them their due justice, so too their treatment of slaves and servants and those who work in the field, they were supposed to be fair and just to them. Now let's look at Ephesians 4. This is verse 25. Therefore, laying aside falsehood, speak truth, each one of you with his neighbor, for we are members of one another. So here's a command to lay aside falsehood and speak truth. This is 1 Peter 2, verse 1 and 2. Therefore, putting aside all malice and all deceit and hypocrisy and envy and all slander, like newborn babies, long for the pure milk of the word, so that by it you may grow in respect to salvation. So here there's a command to put aside deceit. And this is 1 Peter 3, verse 10. For the one who desires life, to love and see good days, must keep his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit. Here's a statement that we should keep our tongue from evil and keep our lips from speaking deceit. So again, our news media is full of stories about sexual harassment and assault. But among those stories, there are also stories of false accusations and false allegations. Exodus 22 teaches us that Yahweh despises false accusations. He told the Israelites to stay far away from perjury and false witnessing. Likewise, Ephesians and 1 Peter tell us to lay aside falsehood and speak truth. And all these verses together reveal Yahweh's heart, and it teaches us that we need to fight false allegations just as much as we have to fight actual assault. If you haven't joined my email list yet, please do so. First of all, it is free. By signing up, you will get immediate access to all my free content as soon as it is available. It will be delivered right to your email inbox. This is the best way to make sure you don't miss out on any of my free content. In order to sign up, go to BibleMountain.com, click on follow, and there will be a place to enter your email address. Once again, thank you for watching BibleMountain.com.